Everyone, and welcome to this MASH session. Now today we're going to be talking about artificially manufactured serendipity. There's been a huge amount of talk recently, certainly over the last year, about whether digital events will be a threat to live shows. And one of the things that we hold on to in the live show side is this joy of serendipity when you go to a show. It's, you meet someone you didn't know you needed to meet, solving a problem you didn't know you had with a solution you didn't know existed. So I'm really delighted today that we're going to be talking about how you can actually solve that problem. And I'm very, very pleased to welcome Luke Bilton. Luke has been VP of Digital for Informa and UBM, so really has some excellent knowledge up his sleeve. Welcome, Luke.
Thank you, Ruth. Very pleased to be here.
Excellent. Let's start off with a really simple question for my non-techie brain. What is it? What is artificially manufactured serendipity?
Well, so I was talking about this with my partner over breakfast, and she absolutely loathes it as an expression because I guess it's an oxymoron. So how do you manufacture serendipity? Serendipity should be two completely unplanned, fortunate collisions which come together and create something wonderful, whether that's new business or discovering new insights, whatever that might be. So the idea of doing it through algorithms does feel a little bit strange, a little bit icky. But in truth, I think as an industry or as a model, the events business has actually so little in the way of data that everything that we do is serendipitous. When you push people into a virtual event towards a conference program, that's all fairly serendipitous anyway. So actually, I think probably our challenge is less about the serendipity, but it's more about how do we get a lot better at creating in a meaningful way, in an intelligent kind of way, better connections. So everything right now feels very unplanned and random, and I think we've got a long way to go before we need to worry about over-optimizing.
So let's start with. I like the terminology that you think it's a little icky. I think that works well for me. So let's start with thinking about the benefits, because a lot of organisers are sitting there saying that's all very well and good, but why, how, what do I do? So let's start with what are the benefits and the upsides for organisers?
So the benefit is that you are creating a so much more powerful, so much richer experience by using data science than if you don't. So data really is the fuel of the new economy, and so whether that's Google, Amazon, Netflix, Uber, whoever it is, but by using data, you can come up with so much more powerful experiences, personalized experiences, than if you didn't. Netflix famously said there are 33 million versions of Netflix because as everyone gets their own personalized experience, and it's being able to deliver that is what ultimately makes people fall in love with your product and feel as though they've come out of it with some really useful, whether that's insights about new products or people or whatever it is that's valuable to them. Drilling into the data is an incredibly powerful way of doing it.
So the Netflix one is interesting. So I agree with your comment about Netflix, because I get a lot of push from them, and I don't think I've ever received something I thought, oh, that's totally not me. I've sometimes received things from them where I think, oh, that's different, I'll take a look, but I've never received anything that's totally left field. So that for me says that they're actually managing that serendipity experience, that browsing through the video shop of yesteryear. I'm sure you're too young to remember that. The flip side of that to me is Amazon. And you and I were chatting about this the other day. Amazon, who are supposed to be the masters of data, my husband received a push from them the other day. He bought some shoelaces, and he received a push that said, last week you bought these shoelaces, would you like to buy these shoelaces now? And his point is, I don't have that many shoes with laces. So how does that work in terms of the serendipity piece?
Well, I can't really comment on your husband's laces, but I think it comes down to what you're optimizing for. So the job that Netflix have, in a way, is quite a simple optimizing job. They're doing a sort of like they can create like a many to one match. So when there's been a new season of Game of Thrones, say, or I don't know, whatever's hot right now.
I'm sure you've been watching Bridgerton, haven't you?
That's what the tip of my tongue. So when the new series of Bridgerton comes out, then everyone on the planet can go and watch that one thing, and the more you use something like a Netflix, the more it learns about you, what you like. It starts optimizing everything about the experience. The photos you get shown for different shows, that's customized to knowing the type of images you respond to, and they can really just carry on optimizing ad infinitum. They create new shows, interestingly, based on what they've analyzed in the data, what the different micro communities they've got. They can say, well, they like, or used to like, Kevin Spacey movies and politics shows, so let's go ahead and commission House of Cards. So I think that's really interesting, actually, for our industry, to say, how can we mine the data and see what are the particularly hot little micro communities we've got within an event, and then that leads into product development. So that would be Netflix. On the other side of it, you've got, so, dating apps. I went to ran a conference actually, where we had the machine learning head of machine learning from Hinge, the dating app, was there, and she was saying that what they're optimizing for is for people to actually leave the platform. So for them, a good result is people meeting each other and then they delete the app and don't come back to it, which is quite a different way of doing it. And with dating apps, it isn't that one-to-many experience. You've got to try to find a way to match two people appropriately, which is quite different. And going back to Amazon, I think I confused the hell out of Amazon's algorithm, because I've started ordering everything through there. So from sync blocker to socks to PlayStation games for my kids, whatever it is. And I think that there's always that sort of catch up that any e-commerce site sort of has to face, where they're trying to push you things. Well, I don't need sync unblocker anymore. That was a completely random purchase, which I've thrown into to the algorithm. But Amazon are obviously the absolute masters at this sort of stuff. But it is very difficult in those kind of circumstances to be predictive of what people want next.
So there's two things out of that you've said that I think are really shouted really loudly. Firstly is you've got to be clear about what you are optimizing for. So being really clear on what your objective is. And, that's with everything anyway, but specifically in this, as you set out on this serendipity journey, be really clear what your end objective is. And secondly is that it's not perfect and it will take time. And I can understand, I can see phone call coming in to my customer service team saying, you're trying to sell me something that I have no interest in. And I can see the odd one of those coming through. So there's a certain amount of be patient. And as you said right at the beginning, it's about volume of data. We've really got to be building volumes of data and experience and patterns, and that takes time. So expect a little bit of a lumpy journey right at the beginning, but that's going to be worth it.
Yes, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's kind of a problem. It's a big problem, actually, that's really built into this whole event model, is that when you're only doing a 3-day event, that puts an awful lot of pressure on the algorithm to try to come up with something that's in any way meaningful. The typical journey would be someone fills out a registration form. Often people lie, or they just go through it as quickly as possible just to get through it, to get through the ordeal. That then goes over to the virtual event platform, and the algorithm starts running based on that. And then when you log into it, it will start saying, well, these are some recommendations based on that demographic profiling that you've done, and then the more that you do on the platform, then you start getting behavioural data about saying, well, he said this, but actually his behaviour is showing us slightly different, and send a few different recommendations. But the amount of time to actually get something in any way meaningful and good, it's just simply not enough. And that I think is the major issue for the events industry in creating more meaningful matches, as much as anything. Because go on. I was just going to say, one algorithm to another, it's really difficult to pick off the shelf, the best algorithm for your business. The thing to do really is to create this longer term journey with your buyers, longer term journey with the sellers, and then you've got actually some real data sets there to optimize around and to tweak and improve as you go.
So thinking about, I'm setting out on this journey as an exhibition organising company. What are the main hurdles I'm going to come across? What are the stumbling blocks? And you touched a bit on the reg form. I'd love to hear thoughts about how we should be adapting that and how we can be changing that. Because whilst we know our industry is making that gradual transformation to an omni-channel environment rather than a single channel through exhibitions, that's taking time. A lot of our organisers still only have that 3-day touch point. What are the things you'd recommend? What are the stumbling blocks? What would you see? So one of the fundamental issues as well with matchmaking around events is that it appeals to certain types of people much more than it does to others. So it appeals much more to when you look at who's been using it, usually it's people in business development roles who really want to go through and just hit up all the visitors to arrange meetings. Understandably. So I think one of the issues is what's really going to be of value to a buyer. So to your VIP, your VIP, your hosted buyers, or however you want to do it, what's going to be of value to them? And a lot of what's of value is around areas like content or areas like product. So the traditional event survey usually says finding new products and innovative new products, ways of doing things, usually is the number one reason to attend an event. They're not often. It isn't. I just want to meet lots and lots of people. So matchmaking can be and is just about matching people with products and content as it is matching people with people. And for a buyer persona, that's probably a much more natural journey. They're going onto the tool. They want to find a product or service that's going to solve a particular issue. And actually, when you look at the search logs that's often been used, that will typically be the thing that comes up. People are searching for a particular product category or for a product. It's quite rare that people are searching for companies. Why that's important is that most virtual event experiences, they start with an exhibitor list. And so if you don't know what it is you're looking for, then you can't make that sort of journey. And the big issue, so if we're saying that finding products is the best journey first, like products first, company second. If that's the right journey for buyers, then along with not having enough data just from the duration of the event, the other problem is you've not got enough products, because it's really hard to convince your exhibitors to onboard them with your platform and convince them to upload products, again, for such a short window of time. How you solve that, I think, comes down to, again, having this longer term relationship with exhibitors. If they get used to uploading their products into your platform, into a year-round marketplace, then it becomes a workflow tool for them. So not having enough data, not having enough products are both major issues. Another issue, if you are trying to create this longer term experience with your customers, the Netflixification of events. Nice. If we try write that down, write that one down. Yeah. It may take me an hour, but bear with me.
if we're trying to do that, then it doesn't really make sense doing it the traditional way of having lots of different platforms stitched together. And for me, that's been over the last year, that's been my biggest frustration, the biggest pain point I've been trying to solve has been, how do you have your content over here, your directory or marketplace here, and your virtual event platform over here? It really breaks that whole experience on both sides, for both buyers and sellers. And the other thing I think I'd probably also throw into the mix there is the importance of curation as well. So it's not all down to the algorithm. When I use Spotify, where I get the most serendipitous results for me for Spotify tends to be when I'm given curated playlists. So it's like, oh, you like this type of music, so listen to this playlist, which has been in some way editorially curated, giving me a list of things which I may not have seen before. So I don't think it's any one thing. And if organisers put all the reliance on an algorithm to do it, without thinking about how can I have 12 months of behavioural data to feed into the algorithm, how can I have enough products to make the algorithm useful, and then also that editorial layer of here are the curated lists of things and experiences, then it's putting a lot of pressure on a poor little algorithm to try to deliver results in minutes.
So I guess the biggest question now, because we understand what it is, we understand barriers, we understand why we need to be doing it, how on earth do we go about it? So it almost is, your point is so massive, and I love this line, and I'm going to use it several times, about data is the fuel of the new economy. And we've got to be collecting massive amounts of data. And I'm sitting here now, let's say, as an enterprise organisation. I've come through 2020. I've just kept my head above water. Now I'm being told I need to spend a huge amount of money on data and manufacturing experiences, etc. I don't have the money for that. How do I start this?
Yeah. So one strategy would be not to. I mean, so you might say, and I think it's legitimate. You might say, I'm going to wait for events to come back, and that. I mean, I don't know if that's how good a strategy that is. Most people I speak to aren't in this camp, but I think it is legitimate, particularly when you've got a portfolio of lots and lots of small events in different. Maybe they're in different regions, in different verticals. I think it's hard to do at scale. So I guess one of my first bits of advice with it would be: is there what opportunities are there? I've talked about the silos between different platforms, but there's also silos between different brands. So is there an opportunity there to take one particular vertical where you've got a bit more scale and say, well, actually, we're going to create one approach, one platform in this particular space, and so a lot of digital transformation comes down to that. I think is breaking down different organizational silos, and it can be quite emotional actually. For if you're brand leader, event manager of a particular event, and you sort of feel like you're being subsumed into something bigger. But in terms of like overall experience for exhibitors, the amount of leads and exhibitors would get, certainly the much better experience visitors would get from it. If you think about what the customer would want, I'd usually argue that where possible, one big vertical play is going to be a much more effective way of using limited budget and resources than splitting across lots and lots and lots of different disconnected initiatives. So that would be sort of a first sort of thought. If you are going to do anything at all, then try to marshal your resource into one place. And then I think, but if you are going to go ahead with it, then I think broadly speaking, there's probably two main approaches to it. A way that enterprises often want to go or think about going is what might be called a best of breed approach. So with a best of breed approach, you say, I want to pick the best platform for virtual events, best platform for my media site, best platform for marketplace, and then you've got three separate technologies. They're probably supported by three separate product teams, data teams. You've got to ingest all of that data into your warehouse, probably with SSO. And then you also have to think about, when we've ingested all of that data, what do I do with it? Because you're pulling in data from all these different sources, and you've got to find a way to build these processes to push it back to the customer layer. So if I'm looking for a certain type of article on the media site, that needs to feed all the way back, and then it needs to get fed back into the virtual event platform, saying, he's been looking at this over here. We need to connect those two different user IDs, and this is what it is. So it's possible to do, but it can also take a very long time. I mean, there's a truism that everything in digital takes twice as long and is 3 times more expensive than you'd expect it to be. And this type of approach can suck up a huge amount of time, particularly when you're trying to connect together different legacy systems. So, but I'd say that's kind of like that's one approach, I guess, like the enterprise best of breed approach. If you're a brand that wants to move fast, is able to move fast within your organization, then I think a good way to do it is to find one partner that you want to work with that can handle that whole customer layer. So media, events, marketplace, if it can handle all of that in one place, then it's going to be far easier for you to create that seamless experience. So if I'm looking at this over here, then that can then send me to the marketplace, can send me into the event. Whatever happens, so even if you take that sort of more lightweight approach, picking one partner and just trying to create these journeys, even if you do that, you're still going to have to integrate with other systems anyway. You're still going to have to integrate with your marketing automation platform, still going to have to integrate with your data warehouse, still going to have to integrate with Salesforce, your CRM, or whatever your CRM is. But it's easier as having a tech stack of 4 platforms is obviously a lot easier than a tech stack of what probably becomes 8 platforms otherwise. So I think those are probably the sort of 3 approaches I'd look at.
And I think it's quite interesting when you said that the whole experience can be quite an emotional one, because you're used to being a traditional show director, and suddenly you're being pulled in a different direction. And actually, there's a school of thought that says this manufactured serendipity isn't just for digital; it should be for live as well. And we as organisers have been trying for many years to encourage visitors to pre-plan and pre-think and to map their journeys out beforehand. But I think going forward, in a live show environment, that manufactured serendipity in advance of the show is going to play an increasingly important role, because we talk about exhibitor ROI, visitor ROI is going to be really, really important. If I'm going to come to a show, if I'm going to make an effort, travel, expenditure, etc., I need to max out on that, and I can't just risk that I'm going to have that one killer moment. I need to plan it beforehand. So for us as organisers, being able to say to exhibitors, this is who you need to meet, this is the order that you want to meet them in, these are the guys that want to meet you. You don't know you need to meet these people yet, but based on this, we know something that you don't. So I think it's going to be a physical and a digital experience as well.
Yes, yeah. I mean, it has been. So 2020 has been fascinating, really, in this whole move to digital. We're able now for the first time to really see how people are moving around the experience. So we're able to see who's matching with who. We can drill it down to like this micro community level, see where the different audience clusters are. I'd like to think that as we move back into the live event space, all of those learnings we can take them back into the live event arena and don't forget about them.
Luke, that's been absolutely brilliant. I find the whole subject fascinating. I think we've got a long way to run on this. this subject. And I'd like to look back in 5 years' time and say it'd be fascinating to see how far the industry has developed in this area. But thank you very much indeed for your time. Really interesting, really useful, and good luck in your new role. You're heading off. Tell us where you're heading off to.
So I'm going to Expo Platform. So I'm Chief Growth Officer now at Expo Platform.
Excellent.
And yeah, we're always interested in having these kind of conversations with organisers.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed, Luke. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ruth.